Eyes down for the Good morning, folks. Wednesday. Monday was bank holiday, and I usually work bank holidays, but this time I didn't. Tuesday, youngest daughter's UCAT exam in Hull, so I had to sit in a car park for 3 or 4 hours while she did it. So I didn't get here. And here we are, Wednesday. And I've got the precision level out, and I've come across a strange phenomenon. I have levelled across the ends. I have checked for bed twist, even though Mr. Holbrook makes it very difficult because none of these surfaces are actually in the same plane. You could do it with some Joe blocks, but I've managed to do it close enough to get the bubble on a mark and check between both ends where we know there is good flaking at either end, and there is virtually no twist in the bed. So here we have the precision level on that mark. Can you see that? I can just have a look. The precision level bubble is touching at the first mark. Just a little bit more than touching it. Now as we slide along, I actually do not know if this camera is picking it up, but I'll trust it to. As we slide along into the worn area, which this is the most worn area here, we can now see that there is a gap developing between the bubble and the mark. And that's about, I think that's about the most worn position. Right, so we can now see there's a gap. But the strange thing is, it hasn't gone down as you would expect it to dip that way. As the carriage moved into the worn area, it's actually gone up. Because if it had gone down, the bubble would have gone that way. So there's a strange phenomena. There is a strange phenomena. I'm going to have to put some more time into this, and I'm not going to bore you with it. I've checked my level. My level is reading identically both ways around now. I've adjusted it ever so slightly, and it now reads spot on either way around. So we know we got that right. I've checked the bed for twist. I've shimmed these feet at this side. I've chalk marked around my feet. I've shimmed the feet at this side to get myself into more or less level, because this concrete actually all slopes towards the door very slightly in here, just so that it clears any spillages out the door. You know, I doubt if we're ever going to get flooding here, but there you go. So that's how far we've got with getting the bed right. And over the weekend, the bank holiday weekend, I had a chat with a chap called John Burke, who is one of the Holbrook aficionados, and he clued me in on the rather complex bearings that have to be taken off this headstock to clean it up. The idea is to strip the headstock, clean the metalwork up, paint it, rebuild the headstock. And what we have here is 3 sets of screws, 3 pair of screws. 3 of them are grub screws and 3 of them are cap screws. And the idea is to remove the grub screws, tighten the cap screws to actually pull some slack into the bearing, and then take them all out and remove this cap. I think I've got that right. I've left my notes at home, so I'm going to have a go at that now. But the first thing I need to do is see if I can find a very well fitting C-spanner. In fact that's already got a notch in it. that's already got a notch in it where it looks like somebody's had a C-spanner on it. There you go, can you see that? Yes, you can. And is that one the same? Probably. Right, I'll start on this and I'll get back to you. And here's the oilers, which John was telling me about, which are Winkley oilers. Now he said to me Winkley oilers, and I thought, I don't know what the hell a Winkley oiler is. I'm sure I don't. I've never heard that name before. But in actual fact, I've got Winkley oilers on the Colchester. These rotating sleeve oilers, I've got one on the Colchester inside the end cover. There's a Winkley oiler of this type on the shaft. Although Winkley, actually, I looked up the cost. What do? You do some research, you look up the company. I looked up the company and they made massive numbers of different types and different shapes of oilers in clip top oilers and ball oilers, and their speciality was making shapes in pressed metal, in sheet steel and sheet brass, making things out of steel and brass, very small, very accurate things. And these are the Winkley oiler. Apparently there's in here there's a wick, and then there's a lump of felt which I can make replacements for. But the first thing to do is to take it to pieces, and I have been told that this will probably be very tight, so I need to slacken these off, make sure they're all free, and then find a C-spanner that fits. And to be honest, looking at that, I'm not beyond making one, but making one that goes right round and fits in all 3 pegs. Right, I'll bring you back when I've done some more. Bye now. Right folks, the screws are out, and thanks to the wonderful hot air gun, a little warm, and we've got it off. So I shall proceed to see what I find inside. Bring you back in a minute. Bye now. Right folks, I've freed off the bull gear shaft by taking out the little grub screw and putting some oil in it where it says oil, and that's now ready for removal. And I've also slackened off the screw, the clamping screw in this collar, and removed the collar. So I'm getting towards it. So the parts are beginning to build up. This is perfectly free. Next thing I've got to get off, which could be dicey, is this gear here, but I think if I can get it all to move, I can put a block of wood on there and tap it with a mallet and see if I can just get some space there. Let's see how it goes. Bye now. Right folks, at the rear, once we remove the clamp screw and collar, we then remove the gear. A slight tap on the end of the shaft freed the gear off, so the gear is off. Then there is a thrust washer, then there is a key which has to be removed from this shaft, and then the same as the front, there's a grub screw and a cheese head screw. And once those have been removed, you remove the boss, and then you have to use a little magnet like this to remove the, whoops, that picks up a lot of crap, to remove the 3 little round pieces of steel from out of the 3 little holes in there. And the back end's off. So, we've advanced the tech level. I'll bring you all back when I've done some more. Bye now. Right folks, to remove the back gear, you have to remove the pin from the handle, which has a spring behind it, and then you have to tap the inner shaft there until it frees and it pulls out and the gear comes off. I just have to get this mechanism out of here because this serves a purpose. This is supposed to rotate with the whole lot, I think, and it wasn't doing. But we shall look into that. But that's how to get the the back gear off anyway. You have to knock the pin out of the handle, and then it all comes to pieces. So, onward. Bye now. Success, folks. As John said, you have to be very careful because there's little tiny grub screws all over that hold everything in together. I've been very lucky with this machine because every screw I have put a screwdriver on has come out straight away without protesting at all. Now, the reason it wasn't coming out was because this cone pulley was stiff. It's supposed to turn free on there, which I hadn't realised. Of course, it's locked by the pin in the bull gear, which was also seized up. And it has left some rust marks on the spindle, but I think it will be okay. It's not, I mean, it is what it is, but it's not deep. It's staining on the surface. I shall see how deep it is when I put this in the Covmac and just spin it up and clean it up with some very, very fine emery tape. Well, actually I'm going to use some I think it's about 500 wet and dry. 800 wet and dry. 800 wet and dry. So that will provide us with a bright polish. But that's why it wasn't coming off. I took the grub screw out of here, the oil grub screw, and put some oil in it, and it immediately started to free up. But of course the bull gear pin was in, right, which meant it was locked to the shaft, because this is key to the shaft. It was locked to the shaft with the bull gear pin. I couldn't get the bull gear pin out because it was seized up and it's very difficult to get to. However, I have now done that. That has a little screw there, which is the spring and ball detent. So what have we got? We've got a spindle in remarkably good condition. We've got a pair of bearings which are in remarkably good condition. We have a conundrum which John mentioned to me, that his bearings had been filled with lead or solder. Well, so have mine, and that would prevent them from being adjusted, because the bore in the headstock casting is tapered, and the grub screws press against the little metal pins, push the bearing in and close it up to adjust. Now, if that is filled with lead, if that is indeed lead, and it looks like lead or solder or something, it can't close up, so it can't be adjusted. So this is something we've got to think about. I think that this is probably put in. Now that doesn't make sense either. I was going to say that this is put in after the bearing is adjusted. But why would you want to fill it up? Well, you want to fill it up to stop the stop the oil leaking out either side and keep it in the pad. But is that in fact, is that solder or is that a shim? Is that a shim? Will it come out? No, it looks like solder. Looks like it's been soldered to me. And there's a little 7 stamped by it. Anyway, that's something we have to worry about down the line. The first thing, the bearings have a locating pin at the top. The first thing to worry about is getting this cleaned up and into paint, which I'll probably get done today. Unfortunately, somebody's been hacking. Now, I think that hack is to provide clearance for one of the belts, because these belts, this would normally be fed with a belt directly overhead, right? And it's been, this was the counter shaft I got with it. Now, he said lifting all the junk off it. Now that does look exactly the same as the other counter shaft. I haven't measured it up yet, but there you go. but I'm going to devise a way of sliding this counter shaft sideways on the lathe so we can pick up all the speeds, because at the moment this would only have 3 speeds plus the back gear speeds, so that's got to be looked at. And I think I've come along with using this T-slot on here, we can get a fixing all the way along the back of the lathe, which means we can make a very rigid fix to a strong part of the lathe without doing any damage to it, and we can then have probably a thread and a hand wheel on here to slide the motor, slide the whole counter shaft sideways so that all the pulleys can be lined up. On the big counter shaft on these machines, I think the upper pulley slides, but I don't know about that because I haven't got any of that. It was never with this lathe, so there you go. Right, I'm now going to have a cup of tea. I think what I've decided to do with this is that I'll get some compound of some sort, either Belzona or Devcon or whatever I can lay my hands on, and I shall put a very thin sliver on there to fill up the damage, and I shall do the same underneath to fill up the score marks, and then leave it at that, because the way this, I mean, I've just put a little bit of 3-in-1 on there, and the way this slides is really good, right? And as I say, inexplicably, as you put this end over the worn area, it seems to come up rather than drop into it, which is what you would expect. I'm obviously going to do further investigation on this. If anybody watching has got any ideas on this, please let me know. Please let me know, because these things are, you get your head round them and you start to think about them and you think, that doesn't make any sense, that doesn't make any sense at all, this does not make any sense. It's a very wide bearing, but it does appear to be worn within the areas it would cover, which is hard against the tailstock probably, and the maximum distance, which is about there. Having said that, it's not a lot. I can measure, if I put the level on, look at the deviation in the level between the this end, which I'm calling 0, and there, what we've got is a movement of about half a mark on the level, which is about 1.5 thou. The only thing I can't understand is that it's up and not down. So there you go. So if anybody's got any ideas, please get in touch, please contact me, make comments and let me know. But things are beginning to take shape. Things are really beginning to take shape. Everything seems fine. The thrust bearing is fine. There's a lot of crap in there. I'm not happy about that, but it is what it is. The bearings are fine. So now it's a matter of doing the bit we all love to hate, cleaning it all up and getting the muck off it. Right, bring you back later. I think it's also time for another cup of tea. Bye now. Right folks, the restorer's dilemma. Do I take the badges off? I've already said to you, I think, that sometimes if you get a Stanley blade and you start to tap carefully around the edge of the badge, you can get those pins, those hammer screws, to unscrew. Now I tried it with that one and it was showing no signs of moving, so I left it. But this one has come off straight away, so I'm going to just do a bit more work to that, probably pop another blade in on top of that one, and with any luck that'll just pop off, and then we'll be able to clean it up properly, paint it black, put it back on. Bye now. And there we go folks, it's off, complete with 2 original Holbrook hammer screws from the 1930s. So we can now clean that, we can keep that polished, paint the rest of it, paint that, wire brush that out and paint it and put it back on. Right, it'll look good. Right, also it stops the risk of you damaging this. So, there we go, cup of tea, and then it's clean up the filth. Bye now. And there we go folks, once again the clock has beaten me. It's 4:52, time to go home, but I think you'll agree that that has come up okay. I've got most of the black paint off it, all the green paint off it. I'm going to repair this, I'm going to fill it. Right, I'm going to fill it and flat it so it won't look bloody awful like it does now. The alternative is to grind it out and smooth it off, and I don't think that's a good idea. So I'm going to fill it and flat it and make it as it was, the shape as it was, and then if I need to remove some, well, I'm determined that I'm going to put it together and I'm going to make the belts fit, even if it means bringing the counter shaft up here. I'm going to do it without the belts fouling on there. I'm sure I can do it. I'm sure it's not impossible. Right, that's it for today. Tomorrow, clean up the spindle, clean up the pulley, clean up all the other bits. Right, I shall put the filler on this, leave it to go off, shape it up, and then I'll get a coat of red lead on this. And I might get a coat of red lead on that as well. I've got some filler to put in there, and in there, and in there, and the same at the back. I can fill all these, well that doesn't matter, but I can make it better. And I think what I ought to do as well is just run down these legs, and I could take it into the doorway now and power wash it. I'll see how I'm feeling tomorrow, but I don't know what it's like under here. Still mucky, still bloody mucky. God, it's a sod to clean under there. You really cannot get under there at all. Yeah, still mucky. Now, mind you, these are better. They're much cleaner. In fact, they're clean. They're clean. There's just here where I can't get in really, where you can't get in with anything. Through that little square hole there and there. Right. It'll get done. I think that's what I'll do tomorrow. I'll get that filled, and I'll get this filled and ready for paint, and we can start banging some paint on it, and then it'll start to look like a lathe. Right, that was Wednesday folks. See you all tomorrow. Bye now. Morning folks, or should I say, as usual, afternoon. Thursday, 1:23. I've been here since just before 11 o'clock. So I had to make calls. There's the repaired headstock, or at least a made beautiful headstock from a very ugly headstock. And of course, if I have to carve that out a bit again, I can do. But I'm going to try and avoid it at all costs because it looked bloody awful. That. Right, there it is. That's ready for painting. Oh look, I made a mess. I've just come out with my dust mask, and the only way to do this, I'm afraid, is to get down on your hands and knees and get stuck in and get it off, because it's loose. I mean, most of it's pretty good. Most of the green paint is pretty good, but just some areas of it are loose. And of course, if you've got some areas that are loose, you've just got to take the whole lot off and degrease it, and then let it have it. But there you go. Anyway, as you can see by the crap everywhere, it's coming on. I'll bring you back when I've tidied up and when I've finished, but first I'm going to have a cup of tea. I think I've earned it. Bye now. Look at that crap. Hello folks, 2:48, and that's all the paint. I've been right round it with the DA sander, taken all the green off, sanded it back to the original Holbrook black and Holbrook filler paste, and I've been right round the inside of all the legs with the needle gun, and I've done the underneath with the needle gun and the paint removal disc, the surface preparation disc, which these are very good indeed. So we're about ready for a wipe down and a mask up. I'm going to lift it up, put a sheet underneath it, put a big cloth underneath it, and then I'm going to let it have it. I'm going to stand back and let it have it with some red lead. I hope to get it done today actually. I'm going to spray the underside, and probably I'll spray the lower part, the chip tray and the lower part of the bed, but I'm going to have to mask it up first. Take this slide off obviously, and then we're getting somewhere, we're beginning to get somewhere. So next job, wipe it down with white spirit and mask it up. This of course is being painted as well, but I think I'll brush that because it's a bit fiddly. It's a bit fiddly, so I think I'll brush that. Right, off we go. Catch you later. And there we are folks. 1552, 352, and she's all masked up. She's all clean. You just have to run around it with a bit of white spirit and degrease it, and then let it have some red lead. What a bloody job that was. Lathe masking. I've masked off all the bright work, all the beautiful polished and ground cast iron, so that should be fine. Right, let's get on with it. Bye now. And there we are folks, 13 minutes past 5, and she's all coated up, inside, underneath the chip tray, inside the legs. It's aliasing a bit on the legs. Can you see this mapping effect? I'll have to see what that's like in the morning. There's several ways to get around it. You can use what's called a separator coat. You can spray a very dry coat on and build up a very dry coat over it. It's only doing it on the legs, which is where I left some of the original black paint on. It might have been as well to take it all off. Where it's all come off the chip tray, it's perfect. I've sprayed it all regardless of the fact that there's quite a lot of original Holbrook black, especially on the back there, but it's only where I've ground part of it off. So I'll see what it looks like in the morning. I might have to get some separator, but other than that it's come out very well. And I also brush painted the headstock, so that repair's gone very well. So what I have to do now is probably give it another coat tomorrow, and maybe that's had a double header, so that doesn't really need another coat. I could go straight to black with that. So I'll see what the aliasing is like in the morning, and then I'll try some black on the legs and see if it comes through again. I don't actually think it will. I think once it's dried and the solvent's gone out of it, it'll be fine. But we can get this in black tomorrow, and then I can crack on. I'll get them in black first. I might give this another coat, I might not, depends on how it is. I put it on fairly heavy with a brush. But tomorrow I can crack on with the spindle and getting all these bits cleaned up. which would be good. Right, 5:15, that's it for today folks. I'll see you all tomorrow for Friday's fun and games. Bye now. Morning folks, Friday, 9:30. And as you can see, there's quite a lot of aliasing, or mapping as they call it. But the paint isn't dry yet, so I can't put another coat on anyway. What can I say? It's not bad. It looks like it's all going to dry evenly. There's even a little bit on the that repair I did on there, right? But I think when it's properly dry, it'll be okay. If not, I'll have to. I've got some acrylic primer that I can use as a separator coat, but I haven't got any hardener for it, so I'll need to get some hardener for it, right? And if necessary, that is what I will do, right? But I can't put another coat on because it's still too tacky. I only sprayed it at 5 o'clock last night, so you can't really expect anything else. It's an oil-based paint. It's going off slowly. We'll leave it and see how it turns out. Right, I'm going to put the spindle in the lathe and clean it up. And then I shall go through all the headstock parts and clean them up, especially that grotty pulley. Okay, catch you later. And there we are folks, unclean spindle. Or it was clean until I put it down in some nasty grease. Never mind. Right, that's done. And at the moment, I've just got back in from a poo run. We've been on the poozy woozy run. And also, he said, turning the light on. I'm working on the pulley, which is coming up rather nicely. They're crowned, the pulleys, which is very nice because it means the belts will run true. I don't know if the ones on the other end are, but I presume they will be. But that's cleaning up lovely. I've got it gripped on the inside of the drum and I'm holding it in with the big rotating centre just so that it can't drop off. But I've now got to go and make a house call, so I shall do that and I shall be back shortly. Bye now. Right folks, I'm back and I've got some weggies. Now this is still tacky and I think I'm pushing it a bit to put a coat of black on it today. So what I think I'll do is I'll leave both that and that till Monday and see how dry it is on Monday, because I don't want to seal any more solvent in than I have to, because it builds up and it takes longer and longer and longer to dry. So I'm going to leave that till Monday now, and if it's dried off on Monday, I think I'll try some black on the legs and on the underside and see what it does. And if it maps, I'll have to put some acrylic primer on to act as separator. But there you go, you never know. I mean, there's no way of telling what this stuff is on here, other than the fact it'll be some sort of lead-based filler. It's very thick in places. You can see in places there is particularly one place where it's been put on like a putty, like a casting filler. But we'll have to see. So I'm going to leave that. I'm going to leave that just to dry over the weekend, and then we'll see if we can't get some black on it on Monday. See what it looks like on Monday when I come back. Right, I'm going to crack on with cleaning all these bits up in the lathe, and I'll set you up on lathe cam and just show you a bit of it. Bye now. And there's a nicely polished pulley. Right, now on to the rest of it, the more difficult to clean parts. Right, I'll bring you back in a minute. Bye now. Friday, 5 o'clock, just gone. Right, we have some clean components. Not assembly clean, I hasten to add, but they're cleaned. What am I not happy with? I'm not happy with the bore of that. All the oil slots appear to be, the oil ways, should I say, they are oil slots really, are full of oily varnish, so that's going to have to be the cellulose thinners and the toothbrush job to get those clean. I've had the flue brush on the end of the drill through it, and that's certainly cleaned it a lot. Also, I've done the same thing to clean the inside of this. Now this one's flushing through, but it is very much cleaner than it was. I've got all the swarf out of it. Like John, I have had to give my pin a tap down as well, and it now fits the collets. And here's a collet, right, that fits the nose. It's a Hardinge CR 500 half inch, 0.5 half inch. So there you go. Right, so I think I might try and sneak out and come out to play tomorrow. But what I'll probably do is I'll put this video together tonight, and then if I do any more I'll add to it. I'll put out another video. I managed to get the detent plunger and the little spring and the 2 screws out of the is it the bull wheel this is called? The pin goes in there. The pin is like a banana, and I think I'm going to end up making a new one because it's so knocked about and it's so bashed up at the end. This is supposed to be a little round knurled piece, right? That's where the detent holds it in one position or the other, in or out, and that's where the guide pin slides in and out, and you can see by the shape of that it's twisted. I just don't know if I've got a milling cutter that small. I probably have. I've got some stock. I've got some stock of the correct diameter outside, but it means I would have to graft a piece on, which isn't it just means literally threading it and then putting a tack weld on the top and polishing it, so it wouldn't be difficult. But I have to see if I've got some stock larger than that. I think I probably will have, in some sort of decent steel, silver steel or something like that. But that's had some severe abuse. If you look just there, you can actually pick up perhaps a little bit of knurling. Never mind. But that's the first thing I've come across that's really that's damaged. Beyond repair, it's not worth repairing. It's not worth trying to straighten it out. Just make another one. I haven't got around to cleaning this bit up yet. I haven't got around to cleaning the locks up yet. But so far so good. It's coming on. So what I'll do is I'll lob this video together tonight, and I might do some more over the weekend, with the idea that I can come back. I've just covered it up to stop any mud, any solvent spots from my blowing gears and things off going on the paintwork. But that's it for this week, folks. So it's just been raining outside. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Look at all those apples. Give me a like, send me a comment. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe, because 86% of the people who view my videos aren't subscribers. So get yourself subscribed. It costs nothing and it pushes the channel forward. It brings it to where YouTube's noticed, and it pushes it further up the popularity scale. Alright then, see you next week, or maybe even tomorrow. Bye now.